We will start at exactly 6 p.m. while we wait for our guests to arrive. I'm just excited. It's our first ladies webinar series that we decided to kick off after we had a very successful Women's Month. And the four of us decided to say, look, let's just continue having the conversations, connect with professionals across the globe, and just so that they can hear about our views on the different work dynamics that we experience in the workplace and how we can navigate them and how we can and face those challenges and those opportunities. So my name is Towela Mukosa. I am the managing director of a company called Biotechnologies Africa. And me and my colleagues here, Kani Deboho and Sola Bomi, we decided to start a webinar called Let's Connect. The webinar will be happening every first Wednesday of the month. So please, 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 if your friends haven't registered, please send the invite, send the link out, spread the word. We're trying to connect across the globe from Cape to Cairo. We just want to spread the word and find out a little bit more about and talk about the work dynamics that we're experiencing. So I just want us to maybe get to know the panel, like who are the fabulous powerhouse ladies that we will be chatting with every month. There are all these ladies talk shows. There's the talk. There's all this is an African version of it with a twist where we're focusing on professionals across Africa and the globe. So I'll start off with the lovely Kanye. If you could just please introduce yourself so that our attendees can get to know you and get to know who the fabulous Kanye is.
Thanks, Toa. I am really excited about this conversation that we're about to start. I think it's long overdue. I think there's lots of us that are excited about what's happening on the continent, about what's happening with other women. I think for the longest time, there's been this notion that we don't necessarily build each other. And I love that we're starting this conversation right now. So very excited. Kanye Mzuli. I'm the founding member of a construction business called Ladybug. We have Ladybug Projects and Ladybug Consulting, wherein we build people's dreams. We do renovations, we do tenant installations, we build houses from the ground up, and that's been our bread and butter for the past 5 years. I also am a director in a recruitment agency called BLK Recruitment, where we find the right candidates to place into winning organization so that it sticks. That's me.
Fabulous, Kanye, fabulous. And after Kanye, we've got Teboho Maseremule. Teboho, kindly introduce yourself to Africa and the world.
Hi, Africa and the world. This is Yogi, your chakra Han. Hi, everyone. I'm Teboho Maseremule. I'm a yogi and I'm a founder of Dira Digital Solutions. And we don't sell dreams, but we can make dreams come true. We are an IT company providing project management services as well as I'm really also excited to be part of this panel. These are really powerhouses, and I think we connected really deeply after our session, I think a couple of months ago, and I wouldn't say no to any of you ladies. So yes, we're going to have fun throughout, and it's going to, like Towa said, it's going to be a monthly session where everybody can just join in, share your ideas on the comment section, and let's roll and have fun. This is not like work where somebody's taking our performance reviews. Okay, so we're here just to let it all go and sing Frozen theme song and have fun, really, and share our expertise and experiences. And that's me. And I think Sola will just take over.
Hi everyone from Cairo, from Cape to Cairo Yes. Hi, my name is Shoabomi. Everyone calls me SB, but most people call me SB. I'm based in Lagos, Nigeria. I work in the power sector with a firm called Viathan. Yeah, so used to be in aviation and then moved to power. Across both sectors, it's a male-dominated industry, so I have gone into passion for inclusion and just women in the workspace and just finding space for inclusion conversations. Yeah, we had this session sometime during in the peak of the COVID pandemic, and yeah, it was a great session. The ladies reached out to do this monthly. Why not?
Yes.
I'm passionate. Yes, doing something different. I'm a doer. I'm not much of a talker, and so this has been out of my comfort zone, but found great fun in connecting with these women from around Africa. So happy to be here and excited to unpack all of these conversations women in the workplace have. So looking forward to it.
Yeah, you know, Sola, when you talk energy and whatnot, the first thing that comes to my mind is like ESCOM. It's like, okay, so she's into like ESCOM vibe. Energy.
No, we are nowhere near ESCOM, but we're trying to get there. That's our goal. Be the ESCOM of Nigeria.
Yeah, close. Close enough.
I get it.
I just want to say, there's a comment in the chat from a lady called Princess Majola. Hi, Princess. We see you. Glad you could join us. And that she's very interested to learn from the panel about our experiences in navigating the business world. So that's just a snippet of what you would expect from the webinar series. We will be unpacking a lot of topics over the next coming months. Today's topic is, do single professionals carry more workload? So that's today's topic, and it's very interesting. I actually feel like the thorn amongst the roses because I'm the only non-single person on this panel. So it will be interesting to hear the different views. Yes, so I'm excited.
And you'll be the honest broker.
I will be the devil's advocate, and I will also bring my views of what I think. and yeah, so it will be a very interesting conversation from what I can gather. Please, guys, please post all your questions in the Q&A. Another thing that we would like the conversation to be quite dynamic, a bit different from the other webinars that you've probably been attending. Please also post any questions or topics that you would like us to discuss in upcoming webinars, and we'll collate them and we'll see how we can unpack them in the next coming months. So without any further ado, I just want us to post the question to our attendees to hear what they think. Please, may you go on to menti.com. I've just put it into the chat, mentimeter.com. And please just share and vote to say, do you think single people carry more workload in the workplace? I think I want to kick off the conversation and ask Deboko first.
I knew you were coming.
I want to hear your view. What is your view? Do you think yes or no?
How can you do that? You know I love to talk. Now I just have to say yes or no.
No. You don't think single people carry more workload in the workplace? Oh, okay. All right. Sola, what do you think?
Plain feather. You just said yes or no. So for now, I'm just going to say no.
Okay. I'll unpack that further. Sola, what do you think?
I'll say yes. I'll say yes. Is it a yes or no question or context?
I want to open We'll divulge the context later.
I'll say yes.
Sola is on the yes. Kani?
It depends, but yes.
It depends. Okay, you sound like a politician there, Kani. It
Management
depends.
consultant.
Oh, okay, a
Yeah.
consult. Yes. I would say no. That's my answer to that question. My question would be no. So we've got a no, it depends, a no, and a yes. Very interesting. I like that. I believe the answer is no. Okay, Bytech admin says no. All right.
Everybody, I think, like Thomas said, just put, go to Menti, is it menti.com, right?
Yes, it's menti.com. I'm about to share it. Can you see the screen now?
Yes, let's see what.
Someone said always.
It depends. Okay, also we've got another Kanye, it depends. We've got a probably. We've got an absolutely.
Wow.
Okay. And I'll be interested if some of these people are not single and they say that. Cool. So I just want to kick off my perspective on why I think that I don't think that single people carry the workload. I think it's a choice. Everyone has a choice on how much work that they want to do when they're at work. If what I've noticed with non-single people is they're more strict with their time to say, I'm off to pick up the wife or the spouse, or I'm off to go and fetch my kids from school. And that may be construed to maybe non-single people that maybe they're carrying the load on behalf of maybe the non-single people. But I just think that the amount of work that one takes on it's purely a matter of choice. Whether you're single or not single, whether you decide that when I go to work, I'm going to work extra hard. And I also think that it also depends on the type of career that you want to choose for yourself. I don't think you can have a successful corporate career and then have a successful life. You have to choose one or the other. So if you're a family person and you decide to say, I'm going to put my family first, just know that your career will suffer. And then if you're going to be a career person, just know that maybe your family or your private life will suffer. So my perspective is not necessarily it depends, it's more a matter of choice. You choose either to work very hard or not. You could be a married person and work very hard, or you could be a single person and just be lazy. So I think it just depends on the person's perspective and their attitude towards work.
And somebody said, boring people, yes.
Yes, all the time. Can you please unpack the it depends?
I think there's a combination of factors that need to just be thought through when looking at how much workload each individual carries within a team. I think in general, Toa, there are expectations in particular from managers that because everyone else potentially has more outside of the office to do, the likelihood is they'll ask you, do you mind? I know, maybe we can try and negotiate it. And so there's an element of it that's outside of the self, right? Then there's the part where you're responsible. I would like to think people are highly driven, very motivated, very clear about their future state and therefore what it will take to get there, tend to take on more. And I'm not saying they're not necessarily single or not. I'm just saying that the likelihood is career-oriented people tend to take on more and sometimes are single.
Yes.
And sometimes are single.
Most times.
Okay, Sola, I want to hear your point of view about the highly driven and career-oriented people take on more. Because your answer was yes, they
Yes.
do. professionals to take on more. So what's your perspective around the whole highly driven, career-oriented people taking on more work?
Yes, highly driven career people take on more, and it's like you said, it's a choice, but it's also an expectation. You can't take away the expectation, what the perceived expectations away from it. While you know that you could do less and go away, you know that you're being watched. So everyone knows that it's school break, and you're not, you don't have kids, so it will fall on you. So it's an expectation thing, and because you're driven and you want to meet all of these things, you will accept it. So so I know you say that it's a choice in that you clear what your boundaries are. Sometimes where that expectation falls on you, and you know everyone is watching that, we know you've got this. You're not that person who's going to drop the ball. So it's an expectation, and also not wanting to be that person that tones things down. And yes, it's a cocktail of things basically, but that expectations bit, knowing that you're available, you always want to put yourself out there. And that's what being a career driven person, that's what you want to show, that you're available and you can do over and beyond. It's I guess we have to put boundaries. It speaks to something we've spoken about before. Women needs to set boundaries and put that line up that I can't do this and I'm doing. But when you're driven and you want to show yourself, you show your work, you'll take all of these things. So I agree.
Guys, please, there is 24 of us. Please, www.menti.com, put in the code. We want to hear your opinions. We've only had 15 votes so far. Please, we want to unpack this a little bit further. It's just like the American results. It's on the fence. I can't really tell if it's a yes or a no. There's so many different answers here. Like, it's not too clear who the winner is, the Reds or the Blues. So Teboho, tell me, you said yes.
No.
You said no. You said no. Why do you say single people don't carry more workload?
Okay, firstly, I'm the reference as a start to say I haven't been in a position where I felt like as a single person, I am taking more responsibility as compared to my married colleagues, for instance, right? So that is as a start. And I mean, as much as I read about this article at Harvard Business, I think it's Business Review, where they were talking about at the workplace, there's this unspoken rules, which then end up leading into the whole cultural dynamics whereby female, in our nature, it's a female trait that we end up just feeling guilty when we're not doing something take from home, the household. So you still get those people that have those kind of dynamic where you feel like, okay, I need to just do more because you just carrying that head from the culture perspective into the workplace, and which leads to another topic of a burnout, to say that is the reason why most women get burnout, because it's that tendency of saying, I need to take more, because you're still carrying that cultural head of saying a woman, when you get home, you do 1, 2, 3. At the workplace, you just need to show off or maybe just do more, which I really don't believe in. I haven't been in that situation, and whereby I felt like, no, guys, I'm taking more than my Ronel, who's married with children, or something, or Towela, who's married with children. I haven't been, so hence I said my answer was no. I really don't believe that it's women literally tend to carry more work. Or I guess also it goes to that thing of saying, setting boundaries to say, okay, beyond here, I cannot take anything. If work is pushed into you, it doesn't matter how much bonus you need to, is on the line, just say no. If for your own mental health, we don't want to admit you to a mental institution, so just say no. So that's where my view is. It doesn't mean that you're incompetent. You just mean that, okay, if I have 17 projects, I mean, seriously, I can't slot in the 19th or 18th one just because I need to just come, or I need to just show off that I'm a single person and I can get home and not cook for anybody, but rather to just do some work. It doesn't work like that with me.
Can I test though? Is there no expectation from the people who
The leaders
are not, well, no, not necessarily. I think for let's say people who are in a relationship or are married or whatever, when they get home, they kind of are forced to switch off, right? Because now it's family time. You know, that boundary's almost set for them. And there's not really much control, I suppose, but you must guide us to, I don't know, in terms of creating that boundary with your family. So in that regard, you don't have a say about whether you can take on more or not, because you know your time is structured and it's not all yours. Whereas the single person in all likelihood will think, oh well, I'm not actually going to get home and do anything. So if I get asked to pick up the load, because the managers do, they will ring fence people, whether you are high performing or whatever it is that's skewing them in your direction, they will come to you and ask you to take on more. Now, your personality will determine whether you say yes or no. But where you're not single, you know, already you like, I cannot take on any more work. So then invariably by design, you can't take on more.
That's interesting.
What do you think of that, Toa?
I think that's quite interesting, Kanye. But let me ask you, have you ever felt when you were working, Kanye, that your relationship affected your work? Because, so what I'm asking is this, just because you're single, did your relationship ever come into work? And why I'm saying that is, and why I'm bringing the relationship aspect into it is because even when married people are in the workplace, they are not managed based on the fact that they are married. Managers do not manage a person's spouse, for example. So they won't say, I'm not going to give you a lot of work because I know you're married. So when the work is distributed, it's distributed equally. Who can do it? You know, you're a team player. I can take it. I can't take it. I can do it. I can't do it. The school holidays are coming up. Guys, I'm going to the Kruger for 2 weeks. I won't be able to do it. Who's going to step up? So I don't think that managers manage employees based on their relationships. And that's why it's a choice. It's when the work is given out, it's up to you to decide to say, I'll take it or I can't take it. And that's the boundaries that I'm laying out here.
I mean, when I started working, right?
Differ a bit on that, but yeah.
Me too.
On which one? Lola?
On that, managers don't manage you based on your status. Oh yeah, people do. If work has been moved around, who can come on the weekend? We have something to do on the weekend. They're gonna look around and she doesn't have soccer runs or anything of that nature to do. Take the kids to party. You're going to be the first person that's being called on. So that is more workload. I think that's even a given on that. Does your relationship status affect how work is distributed or how you manage? I think that especially in a place where there's workload and extra hours or things like that are expected of you. So who can do a late nighter? They're not going to look at the married women in the group and give it to the married men in the group. It's just automatic. I don't even know that it's a bias. I'll call it a bias that, yes, exactly. So it just comes unconscious bias. That's it, exactly.
So this goes back to what Teboho was saying about the unspoken rules.
Yeah.
Of managers when it's time for people to work over the weekend, they're now looking at the single people to say, can you step up?
Yep.
But isn't it as single people, can't you say, no, I actually need to take my dog to the vet this weekend? Why can't you say that?
But remember, I've managed people and I manage people with different personalities. I remember if there was one person, if I were to say that, to take advantage, they would say yes, because they are too sweet and kind. So as a good manager, you don't want to do that, but people would still do. Like, I remember when I started working in 2007, I used to have a manager. I used to work with this guy who was like literally there, weekends in. And come bonus time, he got a lot of money than me. I was so mad, but I remember, and the boss said, but Louisa worked a lot, for instance. I think that time it was this. So I'm like, but I also work a lot. They're like, no, but he's also here weekend out, what he do. I'm like, oh, you see now, it comes back to what we're talking about now, to say, if he was able to accept everything because he's too sweet and he's too nice, but at least there was a reward at the end of the year, gallivanting, and come bonus time, I'm like, what is this?
Was he married or not? That is my. He was
single.
Okay. All right.
So it worked on his favor as well, because he managed to do all those things over the weekend while I'm shopping and I'm running around. And come bonus time, you're like, hell no, what is this? So personalities, like Kanye says. Some personalities.
He's boiling inside. Kanye, what do you want to say? I can see you boiling inside.
Oh man, it must be just black. It's also very hard. So I think the thing is, I'm going to speak as a manager and I'm going to speak as an employee. Okay. So first, with the manager hat on, I definitely had a conscious bias. I would look at a whole range of things, including the fact that, is there added responsibility in this person's life? And is it infringing on them by me asking them to do extra things? So, of course, I thought about that before I asked. And of course, I would take into account the fact that the likelihood is they don't have anything else going on, so they're not going to say no. But and then you tap into the fact that they want opportunity, they're excited, they want to do more, and etc. So there's multiple things I look at, right? But a big determiner was the fact that do they have other responsibilities? Now, if they had said to me, I like to go hiking, I like to go walk my dogs, I like to go painting, carpentry, whatever it is, I probably would have thought twice, in all likelihood, but I would not ask the married person first. Mm-hmm. That is the reality, and I'm speaking for myself. Now, as an employee, I always felt like whenever, and I know managers love to go, ask who's volunteering? Can anyone volunteer? And all the married people look at all the single people like you are expected to volunteer because, well, what exactly do you have going on? And so that's an unfair thing that people do, where they have expectations of you don't have of yourself. And sometimes if you don't have the strength of character or the experience or even just to be brave to say no, you will get yourself caught up in such situations. So, and as much as I think we want to believe that it's fair and it's equitable, it's not.
Yeah. So I remember a situation when I was in corporate before I started working for myself, where I was deliberate to say, I am not available, and I'm being very honest, I was expecting the single colleagues to pick up from me. So I'll be very deliberate. If let's say we're about to go live, and go live is Thursday at midnight, I would literally say, I would be like, my husband will not allow me to stay here with men up until midnight. I'm in IT, it's very male driven, and I would literally say, no guys, 8 o'clock, I have to leave. And I would leave. And I would say, I will be back tomorrow morning, even at 6. I'll be here at 6. And I would look at my colleagues and say, who will step in up for me? And I won't lie, I was expecting my single colleagues to come in and assist. But this was the choice. I had a choice. I could have said, okay, it's fine, 22 hours, yes, and I'll deal with the husband when I get home at midnight. Or I could be upfront with my colleagues and say, you know what, guys, I will come back in the morning at 6, but I can do up to 8, up until 10, I can't. And
Yeah.
so that's why I was saying, for me personally, in my experience, it was more of a choice to say, okay, some of this workload I can take up, I'll pick it up, maybe I'll do it over the weekend. And then there are others where I'll look at my colleagues and be like, can you guys assist me?
Yeah, but Toa, you know that people are more on it still speaks to the same. People are more understanding of your choice because you're married, because you have responsibilities, and they understand automatically. Yeah, so it still also speaks to that expectation and people understanding that you're married, so your husband shouldn't let you. But if you're not married, I'm like, no, I can't stay. I have to go. You get that? Oh, she doesn't want this job, or she's not keen enough, or she's not driven enough. But I saw something in the comment section around that because I work in a male-dominated industry, it shouldn't matter. I feel like it's double the pressure. So you have to feel like one of the guys. Then you also have to then put yourself out there more. So I feel that for working with predominantly men, it's double the pressure. Your relationship status doesn't matter, and then you have to put in as much because you have to be one of the guys. So if the guys don't have to go home and are going to be there all night, then you're like, okay, I could do this as well because you're also because you're single. So yeah, regardless of sector, I think that it's a double trouble. I'll say, yeah.
I think Princess on the comment also said she's talking about single women, single mothers as well. Say sometimes more because you're thinking there would be more money, which really also makes sense to say maybe I can just, as much as I have so much at home, but maybe if I can take more, I can make more money. So I think that is a very good point to say. Some people's view are likely to be because it's driven by thinking I need to support my kids and I need more money for it. And I mean, yeah, it's interesting.
Just on that point, and I think she brings about a very, very critical thing I think that we haven't touched on. Just because you're not married,
doesn't mean that.
Right, doesn't mean the load is shared equally because there's no ring, but you still have a responsibility outside of yourself.
Absolutely.
I'm just curious, Toa, is there an element of, and this is very provocative, so bear with me. Is there an element of, I've got a partner who can carry me if I don't happen to be the most successful person in this team, so I don't have to push so hard, I can create more boundaries and I can be more brave and say no. Does that happen? And I know it's, you're a sample of one, I'm sorry, but I'm just curious.
I think it goes back to what I said earlier on what is your value? So what is driving you? Are you a highly career-driven person? Or are you going to go to work because you need to, pay your bills, but your priority is your family? Because if you do make your family a priority, guaranteed your career will suffer. Like, especially for women. For men, it may be a bit different, but what I've seen for women, you have to choose. It's either my family are happy and my kids won't need therapy when they grow up, or I'm going to be this career-driven woman. I'm telling you now, there's no way I could compete. There's a friend of mine, she's in finance. And finance during the budgeting cycles, she is always at work till like midnight. And I always tell myself, like, if I was in finance and I was working with her, there's no way I'll be able to compete from a career perspective, because she just has the capacity to literally focus and be there. And I mean, the manager see her working till midnight, she's a hard worker and all of that. So for me, that's why I keep going back to the whole choice aspect. It could be different. I have seen married women where they're the breadwinners, and they're the breadwinners. Yes, they are married, but they earn more than their husbands. But they would still need to set that boundary to say, look, I need to leave, or, you know, I'll pick up the work at home, or I'll work overtime, and like that. So for me, that's why I still say you will find there are a lot of married women also who even go the extra mile, because now you're like, there's that single woman who's always saying she's available. Like, I won't lie. For me, I would also be like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't, I need to go pick up the kids. And there's my single colleague saying, no, it's fine, I'm available. And then I'll be like, no, it's fine, I'll call my husband to pick up the kids. I'll stay. So sometimes also, sometimes you'll find committed people, professionals in the workplace, actually sometimes even go over and above, because there is that notion that the single people will look at me like I'm the one who's always giving the excuses. I can't deliver because I've always got something going on. The kids' school, the husband this, church meeting. So because I'm always giving these excuses, let me work extra and put in the extra effort.
But what do you think? I wonder, I'm just thinking, what would be the solution to this? Especially, I think what I don't like is that because you're free with your time now, you are likely to get a bigger bonus because you're working 24 hours. I mean, single women don't have this leisure of leaving their children with somebody else. They need to go back home and all that. So it becomes a bit unfair for people with responsibilities now, if it has to do with money, because you find that they might need money more because they're looking after children. And it's quite, I just wish there was a better way to do it. And I wonder now with COVID, how is the situations at home? How are single women coping with working from home and working long hours possibly, but just trying to make time for kids in between? Because I mean, yes, I do work weekends. For instance, this past weekend, I had to send a sticker pack, right? And then I had to call one of she's married, to say, can you put your contribution, because you haven't given me a contribution, on Saturday. And I knew I was not forcing. I was just saying, when you get time, I need to send this pack whenever. But my expectation is that if you're available, you can just dip in there and put your slide.
So how do we say no? Should we say no, or should we just on the workload? Like what are your thoughts, Sola?
I feel like for the stories, Sola, I just have to say this before I forget, because when I was asking her this weekend to say, can you just chip in and put your slides on my sticker pack? She said, I'm sorry, darling, I'm out with the kids. I mean, that is and I can't force her to say when you get home. I mean, she'll be tired if she's out with the kids at the beach. And even if it's an excuse, I took it and I'm not going to bother her for the rest of the weekend. So I think just saying no, I can't. Yeah.
So I agree that just saying no, but I'm thinking of it from another angle. So I know everyone says if you have your values, you stick to your values, and just say no if you have more to do. But I don't know that's always an answer. That's always a solution. There are times you should have your values, and I feel like I'll know times where I have to say no and I can't do more and I have to go. On a Friday, when there was no COVID, if I have to go pray in the middle of anything, I'm carrying my bag and I've got to go pray. Or, I have those boundaries I can walk around. But more than ever, there will be, I will meet that expectation. What is expected of me, I'll always meet those expectations. But I wanted to ask regarding values, and it sounds like, I know that even in our last session, that's one of the things that people pointed out as weaknesses for women. You don't stick to your values. I still don't know this answer to that. I was going to ask Kanye, so from like a consulting, in a consulting space with values, are there boundaries? I know that in consulting where the workload is just supposed to go on and you're supposed to work till late hours, I just want to know from a consulting point of view, how this values and people have been able to create boundaries and how that has worked. Have you seen it actually work in like I think consulting will be a good place to see, because everyone has that kind of, there's reward, as Seb says, there's reward tied to it, there's the workload. So I think that would be a good area to like see a good example of how it worked. I'm very interested in understanding that. But yes, please, kindly.
Cool. And there are actually some management consultants on the webinar. So please, guys, share your comments and thoughts as well. I think, you know, firstly, there's a selection bias. So you are chosen because you are highly driven, highly insecure. You're going to push the boundaries. You're going to do more than what's required of you. So already you're set yourself up by being employed. No, it's not going to be an even playing field. And then the environment, you know, will have its own set of values that you now must morph yourself into, that are high performing, high paced, respect the client, prioritize. All those things are designed. So the environment is designed to play even more on that need to succeed, right? So, and then they create this culture where you check in the morning at 8 o'clock, you have work to do for the next 8 hours. You check out at 6, not to check out to say, we'll pick it up tomorrow morning. You check out to say, what are we going to do tonight? Right? So then, and then, you know, you're in this culture where what it will take to succeed, and it's reinforced by the culture, is to work as hard as you work, to put yourself in that situation where you're the boundary. So the system is designed to ensure that you are continuously working and doing as much as inhumanly possible, because there is an expectation that you're going to work 12-hour days nonstop. I mean, I remember in my consulting days, there's a specific incident. I remember I went 48 hours without sleep, and we had a deliverable, and there was no other way to do it. And, you know, I'm giving the organization away, but what we do is during the day, we'd work on our decks, so your slide pack, and then you'd ship it off to India for it to be refined overnight. And while it's being refined, you're having problem-solving sessions, and you're thinking about the content and the rollout and who else you need to be talking to. 48 hours, guys, I lift off Red Bull. So yes, you may have your own personal values, but you join the organization knowing fully what it will take to succeed. So you will do what it takes to succeed. And I think the people who do it particularly well are those who know, why am I here? It's part of my vision for my life or my career. And I'm going to do it for 2 months or 3 years or 20 years, because I know the reward. So the effort and the reward that's required to be successful. Very little of that is about personal boundaries, but I'd be curious what the other management consultants on the panel, or at least the participants.
Let's see on the comments. So I don't see anything I have to say. Oh, somebody said, no, it's the BI Tech admin. So it's saying, for consulting companies are biased against women who have family commitment. Kanye, that 48 hours have nothing to do with when we work together. Oh, wow. But that's crazy, hey? Yeah, it will be interesting to hear the panel, the participants, if you had a similar experiences and what's your view on that. But I mean, I think it also goes back to, like, can you say, if certain organization you join them, you know that I have to be here for 2 years. And this is what's going to happen here. And let's just roll with the punches for now. It's part of growth. Take it. And you'll have a story to tell like Kanye, and a very great curriculum vitae to pump up as well, an experience. But I mean, you choose your poison, like I usually say.
But even in those very high high performing culture companies, even as a woman, you can still set your boundary. I remember there was a project that I did that was with a consulting company, one of the big four, and the managing partner, a woman, was very, very specific she would say, I'm leaving at this time. But she would make sure that when she does her checkout, she'll tell you, we'll do the checkout now, and then I'll send me the deck, I'll review it when I get home. And she would always leave at a specific time.
Oh, yes.
So for me, those are the kind of things that I'm saying. Yes, you know, this is the culture that you're in. You have to push, you have to work hard. But I must admit, she did leave the firm. And she wasn't,
Yeah.
I wonder why.
didn't climb the ladder the way the other partners did, if I'm really thinking about it. But even in that environment, she was still able to set a boundary. So for me, maybe before we close, it's how as managers, because now we now are sitting on the fence, we're running our own organizations, we're general managers for utilities. How do you now, when you're giving the workload, do you also have that unconscious bias where you've noticed single professionals or single employees, and maybe you've got maybe high expectations for them? Or is it is it now you're sitting on the other fence, and you know, based on your experiences, has your management style maybe changed? Maybe I can start with Sola.
Yes, I'll say I'm very intentional and particular about when when the task. For me, it's more from male and from the guys and the girls, because the guys are ready to offer up anything. They're like, oh, weekend tonight. I can, that's fine with me, but I'm watching the ladies in the group, and so because I'm being empathic, and I'm from my experience, it also limits the way that I want the work to be done, so that it gives the single ladies the same opportunities. I know that they're driven and they want to prove themselves as well. So on a good day, depending on how what the task is, or how quickly we need it, I'll let them. But I know that they're trying to jump to the occasion and meet up, and so now pulling back on the timelines just to allow them other life. So if it's not urgent, I take your time. Let's talk about it on Monday. You don't have to come in to talk to me about it on Sunday. And even as a manager, because you're single, you think that we also put ourselves in that situation too. I feel like there's something, I'm like, oh, let's meet in the office on Sunday. In my mind, like, why do we have to meet on Sunday? So yeah, it's on learning to relearn, and also being conscious of the people there. So I think for me, there's that consciousness that allows me watch, and allows me give them things that allows them do it in a space that I'm not creating that competitive landscape that wants everyone to jump up and jump over loops to do something on a weekend or at night. So I'm conscious about it, actually, really.
That's fantastic. At Keboho, how has your management style changed now that you're on the other end?
For me now, it's more about like integrating everything together. I'm not into you sitting on your desk from 8 to 9. If you can sit from 1 to whatever, but still deliver whatever, in terms of that is just timing. I don't like it when people are forced to work within certain time, for instance. That's one of the dynamics for me to say, be flexible. If you could be in the UK or US, different time zones, that will still work for me. I just want delivery as a start, for instance. And in terms of female and men, I think for me now, I've realized that especially up and coming young women, especially developers, like, you know, I have a soft spot for them, because when I'm managing a team of all these technical people, I realize that the young lady who will be like, okay, I can take 3 more tasks or whatnot. I really want to say no, but you still need to finish 1, 2. I'm more like I'm becoming biased or just protective, because I realize what they're trying to do, which now leads the men to have less responsibility and more time to idle for whatever because we haven't, because especially if you work in an IT sprint environment, to say, okay, I have 2 tasks left to complete, whereas Samantha has like 2 as well, but she wants to take 2 extra. So I'm now able to more precise in terms of, no, these are the tasks that everybody, the allocation of tasks, and more attention to that as well. Because I realized that the young and upcoming ladies are starting to start to be on that trend that we're trying to reverse. So it's my role to say, okay, let's just shape it up and make it right at least. But I think another thing is feedback or responses. You know, there's that, okay, I've realized communication with men and women are different. To say, if you talk with a man to say, okay, I'm expecting 1, 2, 3, they're like, okay, cool, or no, I can't. Women, they'll be like, I'll look at it or something, but you know that you're trying to say I'm overloaded, but I don't want to say it in front of you. So I'm paying attention to the language and the comments to say, is this a precise response or is this, I don't want to say no response? So those are the things that are now I'm paying attention to as well. Yeah.
Can you see it?
It's a difficult one because you know who delivers, right? It's people who know why they're there and will do what it takes. And in all likelihood, they self-select how they show up, you know, and what decisions they make for their lives. So, and I've worked with people who, you know, and the question has come up, I think, in a very roundabout way, where someone sells you a particular vision in terms of what kind of candidate they're going to be, and then they happen to be somebody else on the job.
Yeah.
So I try. It's not a perfect thing. I work with people who want to work. I work hard, sometimes too hard, and I know that about myself. So I have to have accountability partners in my life who are like, hey, yeah, I know you're pushing too hard now. You need to slow down, or actually you're not sleeping and you're not thinking straight, or whatever it is. But I am more drawn, so I have an affinity towards people who are like me, right? It's instinctive, it's natural, because you feel like, you know, you're going to get more done with those kinds of people. Does that mean I am more mindful and thoughtful about how I decide who to give what workload to? I try and work with people who want to work and want to deliver. So I will solve for that before I solve for, are you single? Aren't you single? You know, do you have responsibility inside, outside of the workplace? But in all likelihood, people whose time is not theirs, and those are the people who typically aren't single, it's very hard. Could you also think about it? Are they going to say yes or no? Do I need to deal with all of that, or do I just go where it's easy? Least resistance. That's where I'm going to go, and that's where I'm going to go ask. And the likelihood is it will be done. And actually, if you're a high performer, it will be done, and it will be done well. So I'll keep coming back to you. That being said, I'm curious about that. The thing about saying no, though, is an important one. I think let's not downplay it. I think the more you realize you're a unicorn, and by that I mean you're special, you're unique, you're an amazing human being, and you do great work, the easier it becomes to say no. And I've spoken to you guys about this, I think previously, this whole concept of essentialism, doing one thing, doing it well. Even though I don't practice it, I think it's important for people, especially in a corporate career. So learning to know what you're good at, what you thrive at, and doing that particularly well will buy you permission to say no. Yes. So if you want to create equilibrium in your life, you know, instead of these ridiculous highs and lows and all of that, you need to also be aware of what you're doing. And so I'm a big believer that, you know, where people can focus their efforts and energy in one particular thing and do it particularly well, they buy themselves permission to be a unicorn, which means they can be a little bit of a diva and say no. And I'm not saying it's a diva and saying no, it's because you're already being pushed too hard anyway. If you're a unicorn, you'll know. being asked to do way too much. So just clarity of that will refine how you then show up and how you engage. I'm not sure. I mean, it would depend on the culture, Clara. I'm just going to your question. It would depend on the culture around, do you go to HR or don't you go to HR about my workload? I think the first port of call would be trying to speak to your line manager and expressing. You know, a good line manager will know they've already overstretched you. And when you come to them and say, I'm stretched, the inclination would be to say, actually, how do I assist? And if that doesn't work, then I think maybe it's worth considering alternatives, whether it's people you trust who can guide you, because navigating organizational culture is very tricky. And I think the panel can share their thoughts on this. I'm always wary of people who go straight to HR before they try and resolve it in line function. It also comes off as a combative type strategy. That's my personal read, guys. Please don't shoot me. So I would say try and work it through in your team first, or talk to people you trust who you know have your back before you go to HR and resolve it in that way.
And then Kanye has touched, in fact, we all have touched on how to say no. I think that's a recurring thing that's coming out from our talks, from the chat as well. So I think maybe ladies, to close, just think about it. But before we close, I want us to go to the Q&A, but just think about ways on how maybe we can give some tips on how to say no. But I think Kanye touched on it now about the whole unicorn analogy, about self-awareness, knowing yourself, knowing what you're good at, and then being able to say no. But I think a lot of it also stems from confidence, self-confidence.
Yeah.
I'm just having that ability to actually say no and feel okay with it, and not, and the other person not thinking that you're not coming to the party, or you're being lazy, or you're dropping the ball. I think maybe just some tips as we leave. It would be nice to leave some tips to the attendees on tips on how to say no, and also managing those expectations where we're managing the power dynamics of upwards, sideways, and downwards. And it's just how to manage those expectations so that people know, yes, I'm a single mom, I've got kids, I'm married, or I'm single, I'm about to get married. But how do you manage those expectations so that the workload is not too much? Just before we go to the Q&A, something happened to me, and I'm going to be very vulnerable right now. I had a 360 performance review for school, and sent it to direct reports and to my colleagues. And something interesting came out, which is something I need to be cognizant about. But it said that I am a person that is intolerant to work-life balance.
Oh.
That shocked me so much, because that's something that in my whole career I have been trying to get a grips on. Yet I'm the one now who's now that person who's expecting people to work on a weekend. I need you to work. I want my horrible. I'll call you on Sunday, and it's something that now I'm like, okay, I need to reflect on. So it really shocked me. It was almost that whole thing of the abused becomes the abuser type thing. And it really caught me off guard. And that's why I was asking you guys to say, now that you're managers, how, based on your experiences, how are you now managing your employees or your clients or the people that report to you? Let us go to the questions. Let me take this first one. It comes from Mwavi Chilembo. Mwavi asks, to make an informed decision when stepping into a role requires full disclosure of what to expect when joining the organization. Has there ever been a situation where an employer done an 180-degree turn on your expectations. How did you handle it? And what would you advise people in that situation? Who would like to take that question?
I mean, I have stories for days. Okay.
I think that's a topic on its own.
Yeah. I think we will need to have this conversation, because if I understand that question, it's a matter of you join a place with certain expectation, and then you get there, you find something completely different from what you sign up for, right? I mean, I joined the place within like a month. I was like, bye-bye guys, I'm done. This is not good for my chakras. They are blocked every day, 24/7. That's not a good thing. And unfortunately, I try to resolve situations. I don't run away from problems. I love confrontation. Then I started engaging. Okay, what is your expectation? I'm giving you like everything. I'm working like a lot of hours to put project together and everything, but feedback that I'm getting is not a happiness. And trying to get different views. And I realized that there's one party that I cannot go through, and this party, it's difficult to go through. And I realized after some time to say, listen, this is not gonna work. I'm gonna love and leave you guys. I have a reputation. I know my work ethics so much. I love project management. I am good at delivering projects. Okay, that's my vibe. But this place is blocking me from doing what I do best, and I cannot be here. And within 30 days, 31 days, I gave a notice of a week and I left without having something to go back, to go forward to, because there's certain, I guess maybe after some time you realize that you have this brand that you're building, and these are the dynamics that you can tolerate, and you know what you're good at. And if it doesn't align, I'm at that pace that I'm going to part with you nicely. We're not gonna fight, but this is my view. And yeah, I just had to leave because we couldn't resolve it.
Who else would like to add on to that question? For me, I think I'll just wrap it up because of time. We've got 1 minute remaining. That is actually, there's a term for it. It's called psychological contracts. So when we're all in organizations, we actually have this unsaid contract, normally between the employee and the manager. And it's all about expectations on how you work, what kind of rewards you're going to get out of the relationship between the employee and the organization. It's an unsaid contract, but it's typically negotiated between a manager and an employee. So how you manage that, I would say, is lots of feedback, lots of discussions with your manager, to just explain, to say, you know what, when I got the job, this is not what I was expecting. For now, I would just end it there to say, maybe have that conversation. To manage those expectations, because there's a whole science around it. You can look it up. It's called psychological contracts. Maybe it's something we can unpack in another discussion, but it's a very big thing where you go into an organization expecting one thing, and when you get in there, maybe the culture is different, or maybe the work style is different and it doesn't suit you. So it needs to be managed. So I'll end on that question there. Who would like to take the next one from Clara? Did we handle it, Kanye? Because I remember you answered some of Clara's questions.
Yeah, I did. I mean, it's so difficult when you are singled out, right? And I think the intention is not always bad. When you do get singled out and get asked to do extra work. I think it's to your point, it's a fine line between, being victimized versus maybe even being groomed. And I don't know how you interpret and experience it when it is managed in that way. So I would say, firstly, I would say reflect on it, and try and see both pros and cons of whatever the experience is. Sometimes it is prejudice, sometimes it is bias, sometimes it is negative. And when it is one of those things, then you need to address it. And I would speak up, absolutely. And I would start with people that I trust and see what, guidance they can give me, because you do need to manage it sensitively. Being a bull in a china shop doesn't serve you. Okay, so you don't need to go break every relationship and destroy every burn every bridge. But what I do think is it's worth sitting with it and understanding why it's happening. And sometimes it's something even you're doing that you may not even be aware of. So just look at it objectively and maybe talk to someone about it. I'm a big believer, guys, on this. You need your own unofficial board. You need people you can talk to who can call you out, but also who can guide you, who've been there before. Because sometimes you're the first career climber in your family and there's no one to look around to talk to. So find people or create a panel of people that can help you think these things through. Secondly, I personally don't believe, rushing to HR is always the answer. I think finding balance before going that route, unless if it is toxic, right? As I've mentioned previously, if it is toxic, then definitely you need to address it. But thirdly, I think you need to own your power. If you go into a workplace and you should know that you're
a powerhouse.
Right? You felt it. You felt it. It didn't feel right. Your chakras were blocked, and you're like, this is not for me. Okay, like thanks. I will go find my peace elsewhere. So self-awareness is always for me a big thing. Only because we don't do enough reflection, and I'm not trying to sound fluffy. I think as a human being, when things don't feel right. You when you take on too much. So think about it often. And talk to people you trust.
Fabulous. I like
Now,
that.
the second part to that question, though, about women being the ones, if female leaders are dished out by female managers. I don't know the answer.
What are your thoughts? I haven't experienced. I haven't
either. So
female on female attack.
Yeah, I've heard oral stories from friends, but no personal experience. So.
I have personal experience.
Yes. Okay, please share, Deborah.
No, it's just the same story that I was explaining earlier to say it was female leader. But I get saying check your instincts as well. I knew from the interview that this is not gonna work, but I reckon this is a great opportunity. Let me not use my instinct and let me just go with my, the other things. And yeah, it showed me flames that you should listen to your instincts.
And you trust your instincts more now, I assume.
Of course.
Great.
So I think there was something you said to just to speak to something as an entrepreneur where you got feedback. I don't know that it might be all on you for not giving people the 360 feedback and you not understanding of work-life balance. It might just be the output of the staff. I don't know. You've given work and they're not giving back what your expectations of them. You're an entrepreneur. You expect deliverables. When you expect deliverables, I think to what can you explain around people around us. It might not be on you. Basically, it's my point. It might just be people not delivering and you pushing for what you expect from your staff, or from your team rather.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I do have a managing partner who's trying to build a mini firm here. So the high performance here going on.
I know about that.
So
he knows that he has all he knows how we should be.
Yeah. So to wrap up, guys, it's 7:06. It's been absolutely amazing for our very first session. I cannot wait for the next one. Please, before you log off, just put in the chat next topics that you would like to hear from us, or you could actually email us. We've got an email address. I'll just put it in the chat. It's letskonnect.webseries@gmail.com. Please email us your suggestions for the next topic, and then we'll start sending it out on social media. Other than that, a last thing that I just want to say is, guys, learn how to say no. I do think that single people do not carry the workload. It's just a choice. That's just my own opinion. But from the conversations, the big takeouts that I took out was we need to manage expectations, whether it's our colleagues, managers, or people who directly report to us. We need to learn to say no. We need to be self-aware, and we need to be more assertive in having and setting out those boundaries. Those would be my last words. Kanye, last words?
I think you take on what makes sense for you. Clarity is absolutely everything. So get that clarity. Why are you doing it?
Sola, before we close?
Yeah, I think it gets easier as you rise up. You just need to know what you want. If you're driven and you can put in all of that time as you at the beginning of your career, go ahead. It gets better as you rise up through the ranks. But yes, be confident and know your onions. Once you're confident and know what you're talking about, you will be able to say no. Definitely.
Fabulous. Thanks, guys. Thanks. The topics are coming in strong. This is amazing. I'm loving the feedback. Teboho, last words.
I think last words for me is to just sell some of you guys' services. Like when you're talking about finding who you are, like for instance, Kanye is a coach. I know Towela's partner is also a coach. Guys, it's very important to find a coach and helps you guide your personality versus what you're good at, because that will make you a powerhouse, I tell you.
Yes. and also yoga, eh? So we shouldn't only focus on the other hardcore coaching things. We also need to align the chakras. We've got a yoga. She's got a
root chakras and everything.
Konnect. No, but thank you guys. Please fill out the survey for feedback on how we can improve the webinar. Send us your topic suggestions to letsconnect.webseries@gmail.com, and we'll see you same time in December. Lovely.
Can I say one more thing? Please tell your friends. Let's start a movement, guys. Let's talk African corporate. Let's talk about experiences. Let's share. So share the link.
Share the link.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you, everyone who attended. Thanks for supporting.
Right. So what do we need to stay behind for, or is fine? Everything is cool?
Stay behind while everyone logs on.
Okay.
So
Bye, everyone.